On this week's episode of Double Strap Podcast, it's the Converse All-Star Raccoon Werewolf.
And some key advice from Dean Winchester: clear eyes and clogged arteries. Let's do this. Welcome to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. I'm Diana.
I'm Liz.
And this week we're going to talk Season 8, Episode 4, Bitten.
I feel like I have a huge hairball and just want to start hacking immediately. Just do a very sexy sound right into this microphone that's not here because I still haven't set up a good sound system at this house because I just can't. I just can't anymore, Diana. It's 2024 and I'm done. I'm over it. I'm over 2024 and everything that won't stop breaking. I did find out that so for those of you that don't know, I have started one of my long genealogical projects has gotten a boost because I enlisted a Fiverr to help me. I don't even know if I've talked about this in here or not. But I enlisted a Fiverr person to help me with a research bump I had with my genealogy. And if you look at Ancestry, it says $3,000. But if you go on Fiverr, it's not. And I don't know how much you're supposed to pay them. And I feel bad if but she did what was a good job. And at least I think so. I don't know. You get what you pay for. And I think it was a good job and basically have traced one part of the lineage to a part of Scotland. And in this part of Scotland, there are a bunch of standing stones that are supposed to have been a long part of ceremonies through, hopefully my pagan, I wouldn't be surprised if my pagan ancestors are out there doing things, but I do partially blame, I'm not saying all the death and all the shit is because of the fact that me and my friends thought it'd be really funny to jump in a circle of evil in Scotland and dance around and go, ha, 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 we're dancing in a circle of evil.
Oh, yeah, you did that,
I did that. So I think I may have found the counter part of it, hopefully. So I think okay. I think that's it's a goal. We're going to have to get to this part of Scotland so I can maybe dance around in another circle and then go, I'm dancing in a circle of evil, ha, ha, ha. Which I think is how it works. You just say it twice.
That's what you say. You do it again. Twice is a weird number. Isn't it always 3 or 7?
3 times is somebody this weekend said that was a number.
It says a number.
I think they made that up, but that was, well, it's not. I mean, it is a number. It is a magic number.
I mean, it is.
According to De La Soul. So what did you do this weekend? So there we go.
Speaking of this weekend, I came down and visited Liz, and we went to Schertz, Texas for the Lone Star Paracon, hosted by the Kling Brothers and Everyday Paranormal.
Is it Kling or is it Klinga? Is it Kling? I feel bad if we have said that wrong. I don't know. They're big dudes, and they've got a paranormal show.
They are. They do. And then, but we got to see some speakers. There was some good vendors. Yeah, it was good. What do you have to say about it?
I love your segue there. I'm going to put you on the spot here. What do you have to say? I'm going to edit all of this shit out if this ever goes anywhere.
Well, here, I'll go for it. So we got to see, the speakers that we saw off the bat were, Lyle Blackburn, who is someone I know.
Sorry.
I did off the bat. He's a cryptozoologist and someone I know. He's also known as lead singer of the band Cool Town. and has written several books. But he was there talking about Texas cryptids. He gave I thought a really great presentation, like a crash course in Texas cryptids and history. So it was neat because he was like, he would talk about the different, like, what's the difference between a monster and a cryptid? Okay, here's the ones in Texas, and went through the different types. We've got our version of like a Sasquatch. And
how come you remember Lyle's lore and you never remember my lore?
I remember your lore.
Sure. But
I do. And then, but either way, so they went through the different stories and sightings throughout the state. And I thought that was really neat, including being upfront about when something was not real. Like, yeah, this, they thought it was a chupacabra, but this is a coyote with mange. Like things. I thought that was a nice touch at an event like this. We had, Aaron Sagers and Seth, and they were talking about the show 28 Days Haunted on Netflix, which I have not yet watched, but I'm tempted to watch now. They talked a lot about ghosts. And then the questions started, Liz. And what did they end up talking about after the question segment?
I think they talked about fairies.
They talked about believing in fairies.
And
not them. They were talking about just in generally discussing the belief in fairies.
Yeah, I think
and there's people in the audience that felt very strong.
And to be fair, that was during a specific talk. I don't remember whose talk that was during. Was it during Lyle's?
No, this was during the Q&A when they were asking Aaron and Seth what was something that was often believed in the paranormal world that they had not fully signed on with. And Aaron's was about Annabelle, and Shane's was about fairies.
Oh, right. I swear I paid attention. So, yeah. Oh, I do remember that, well, because
we were about to go eat lunch at this point,
I was
too. We were
really, really hungry. And I think at that point, I was just, no shade to anybody. Your talks are great. I was just scrolling through my phone looking for what German restaurant was closest. Because that was really the highlight of Paracon, was when we left and went and got some German food. We went up to, was it Krause's? Is that the name of it?
Kraus Cafe in
Kraus Cafe in New Braunfels, and we got a beer pretzel, and it came with beer cheese, and then we also got the sausage sampler, and it had some little mini pieces of sausage, and some of them had cheese in it, and our poor waitresses just kept having the worst day, like shit just kept, like, every time somebody would walk by us, like, they would fucking drop shit, and then, we also get some delicious beer there. So the beer, like, I got this like amazing like dark chocolate beer. It wasn't chocolate beer. It was just like a dark stout. It was really good. And then you got like a lager.
Yeah.
And that looked delicious.
Yeah.
And also I think the Paracon was just beyond the speakers who were great. Like you said, like Lyle's talk, I really highly enjoyed. The slides were great. I thought that the Aaron and Seth, I thought theirs were great. The moderator,
they were great. They were great storytelling.
They were good at storytelling.
And then the moderator, host of the day, Gary, was really good.
Weird as shit. I don't understand what the fuck that celebrity panel was. Like, they basically, for the celebrity panel, had a bunch of people standing up in front of the stage, and then people were asking them, doing Q&A with them. But panels, I don't know. I'm just used to people sitting down. It was just weird, but they were still.
It was an odd format.
It was an odd format.
And this,
I would have done.
And I'm nothing. Oh, go ahead.
I'm just saying I would have done that differently. Go on.
Yeah. This I feel like the talk by the Skinwalker Ranch guys was specifically catering to people that were super fans of the show already.
Well, yeah.
And if you were not, it was not as.
And that's fine. And I think that's also kind of what you get when you have a conference that is not large enough to have breakout panels. So if there was a bigger, I'm not saying like, hey, like if there was a bigger conference, so you could have like, I'm going to have this is my paranormal TV track. This is, I guess Skinwalker Ranch would still fall underneath that, but like, this is my alien track. This is my MUFON people could go over here. And then you can have your ghost track, and then your investigative people go over here. But like this weekend, I've got the Texas Spirit Gathering, and that's all like occult historical shit, which I'm, that is, I'm just gonna there's like some of like the best professors like in the occult like world, like Joseph Laycock is good, like there's so many, like I'm gonna nerd out on so much occult shit this weekend, which is, it was like no shade on the Paracon, like it was great, it was just,
well, and it was benefiting a charity, so it was benefiting the Special Olympics of shirts,
yeah,
so that was cool. And it was cute. It looked like a cute community event because the vendor area was free all
but
day
it's
to
a
anybody.
thing
Like
that
the
like,
public could just roll in. It was just an interesting. It was just
but it's not just
fun,
a
very
local
small
thing. Like, and that's what's like, now I'm just
Yeah.
fascinated by this whole idea of these Paracons, because the Paracons like are all apparently all over the country. And there's one up in May that is like an hour from my boss's house. And so also just this thing, I quit my job today, guys. It's pretty, like by the time this pops out, like, you know, people like, this is how one of my family actually listens to my podcast. Like I put a notice at work today. And it's not official by the time this comes out, probably still won't be, but I really don't think my I don't know, like HR call me, what the fuck, I don't know, but anyways, I know HR doesn't listen to my podcast, so we've got time. Anyway,
buffer built
in. So anyways, so my boss have already, he's like, oh, he's gonna go, he's like, I'm very sad that you're leaving because who's gonna tell me about this stuff? And I'm like,
right.
I'm excited just to learn that this community exists out there, and has been,
and it was a diverse community.
It's a diverse community, and I'm glad that I have found it like over the past year. It's a very fun thing to know exists. But yeah, so they travel around, like, so no matter where you're at, there is probably a Paracon near you.
Nearby.
Maybe not that listener in Zimbabwe. Sorry, but maybe, hey, whoever you are, it's your time to start your own Paracon, and you too can get somebody who is on the Travel Channel to come and speak to you, and it will be highly enjoyable, and you will get to meet all the wonderful vendors. So this is what I think also was the most amazing thing, is that we met Naughty Nerd, who's like, I think should be a
household name.
She should be a household name, but I think she should also be a life coach, because she spends her life like crafting weird fucking dolls, and they are amazing, and she seems delighted, like she seemed like a delightful woman and was very happy. And like this weekend she's going to be at Alamo Hero Con, like with her crocheted lightsabers.
To be clear, it's Naughty, like tied in a knot.
Knotty. Nerd.
Yeah.
I believe that is her name Naughty on there. Nerd. Yeah.
But
which also is an entendre and hilarious, because it's like naughty. Yeah, but it's
I like it.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's always an eye-opening experience. Go out, support your local cons, and
we had a good time.
Yeah, I enjoy a small con. I think they are a good way to pass your time and a good way to support your local arts in your communities and your local nerds. Support your local nerds. And that'll be our theme for today. So,
well, and then we did get to go run around in San Antonio a little bit, and still go to bed early.
We still went to bed early. Oh man, we went to Atta Girl and their fried chicken. Holy shit. Like, it was so good. Like, it was some of the most banging fried chicken. I needed that. My soul, like, I'm still thinking about that. Like, food just doesn't taste as good because I had that fried chicken.
That fried chicken was so good. So Column's Atta Girl, excellent. But yeah, well, I think we put off talking about this episode.
It's a fucking episode. All right, Bitten. So this first aired October 24th, 2012. So I get the timeliness of this, but it was directed by Thomas J. Wright. The last we saw him was in season 7, episode 15. He directed Repo Man. I want to say man, but it's not. It's man. And it was written by Robbie Thompson, who we last saw write season 7, episode 20, The Girl with the Dungeons and Dragons Tattoo. Heart Felicia Day. So, this starts off with a bloody montage, which you wouldn't think would be bad. I'm like, okay, I like this is a lots of it's a gore scene. I'm like, cool, I'm in this.
Pitter patter,
Pitter
blood splatter. Let's
patter,
go.
blood splatter, and Sam and Dean are investigating. All right, cool.
And the song "What's the Matter" by Milo Green is blaring.
It is
in this scene.
It sure
they got guns drawn. And guess what? It's not the first time in this episode that you're going to hear this song.
Nope. No, it is
not. And there's a body on the floor. There's blood everywhere. They do like a scout of the house, and then they magically notice a laptop with a sticky note that says "Play me."
Yep. And a title blips across the screen, and it says, "It never should have ended that way." No. Is it an entire flashback episode done from a found footage point of view? Somebody fucking stabbing you in the eye? No.
Well, to be clear, is it worse that it's not actually found footage, but that she actually... Well,
it's still found footage. Like the whole perspective of the way that this is shot, even though it's not, right? Because we start off, it's not
because it's edited intentionally.
It's not found footage because it's a movie that she made. However, the still perspective is also just here's our shitty cameras. And I get it. There's a lot of you did a very good job. You did a very good job of making that type of genre.
Sure.
Okay, now my screen did not give me a thumbs up. Guys, I just did the thumbs up, and I'm sure many of you know that, I don't know if it's an Apple thing, but like the thumbs.
I think it's a Riverside thing.
I don't know, but I don't know, whatever. So thumbs up, thumbs in my eye, because this is a found footage episode.
Well, we start out, our movie begins at some kind of a cafe. It's looks like a coffee cafe with a bunch of college kids in it, and there's two guys that are joking about being the AV nerds. We've got the cliche, better looking, kind of buff guy who is Michael, and the kind of awkward dude, but the one that likes to film everything, Ryan.
Yeah, I forgot their names for most of this beginning, so I just called them Hot Guy and Less Hot Guy, and because the other guy's not ugly, he's Hollywood ugly, right? And so I'm just like less hot, whatever trope. So we got that trope,
and then we've got them from a distance filming a table of girls and like giving them all their little stereotypes.
Yeah, basically, giving them a one line that reads their sexual desirability to them. Cool.
But one is less annoyed, and she just walks up filming them herself, and she's asked about their asked the good looking one, Michael, about their camera, and they start flirting. So there we go. So apparently she's going home, and now Michael and we find her name to be Kate are a thing, and So
and we're never quite sure how quickly this. At least it's never made like.
No.
She may have just brought a movie. It's not obvious, like whether or not this was a night that she became just moved in. I am now living in your house, and we are a couple, or if this was a progression of time that was edited for this film. That is unclear.
It implies that it's the same day, because when she leaves the bedroom giggling to go to the bathroom, she's wearing the same shirt that Michael was wearing that day with them at the cafe. But it also doesn't mean like he could wear that shirt again. He wears it later in the episode, so it doesn't mean anything. He just like that.
I don't know. So either they move very fast, but they're also college kids, whatever. Less hot dude is editing the video, and this is also time then gets more confusing. Less hot dude is filming the girl chat, and then I just put I don't even know how to write notes about this piece of shit. Sorry, it's not a piece of shit.
Damn.
I just got very frustrated with it.
It's very hard to write notes on this episode. I will agree with you on that. So they're sitting around the house, the three of them, talking about their 5-year plans, and basically like it's actually a throwaway scene. Like, she wants to be an environmental lawyer. the Brian wants to work for HBO or
but
Michael
it's not
Moore,
a throwaway
and
scene.
Michael...
It's because they're gonna rip back to it in the end. So they're doing this establishing thing up in the front where they're talking about this is the trope of what these kids are going to be when they grow up, but that's going to get ripped away from them. But this is when they're still hopeful about their life. Let's show them.
Well, Michael wants to be on a boat in the middle of the ocean with his girl by his side.
But he did read Weekly World News, and there was a Bigfoot picture in there. So hey, Bigfoot.
So they're in class.
Oh, and before that, they also established that less hot guy is perturbed by hot boy and blonde girl kissing.
Yeah, he gets annoyed by it.
So clearly, he has a
class
thing
for her.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting to hint at that. He's either jealous about just being single, or he's got a thing for her.
Either way, it's not healthy. It's all starting to get super gross.
Yeah, it gets gross real fast. This is early still. But they go to a lecture, and their professors, they're talking about Lord of the Flies, and that kind of becomes a reoccurring thing.
And yeah, so maybe it's also because I hate Lord of the Flies.
Oh,
I do if that being part of this underlying thematic narrative is this Lord of the Flies reference. I fucking hate that book because to me it's one of those things that is used often as an excuse for men being fucking assholes. So this is just what happens when you put men together on an island. They go together and self-destruct because they can't help it. It's just in their genes. Sorry. That's what Lord of the Flies represents. Also the piggy stuff. Like, why is the head of the pig picture there? Like, that was unnecessary.
Well, Brian's filming the lecture because Michael's going to sleep through it.
Hot boys don't have to take notes.
Apparently. And we get a scene where...
They don't! Les Hot Boy took notes for him!
I know. Yeah. So we get a scene outside where Scotty, the douchebag, knocks Brian down, and Michael tries to protect Brian, like, bows up. So we've now established also there's a rivalry between douchebag Scotty and Brian and Michael. Yeah. So as they're walking back to their house, I guess, all three of them, they hear sirens, and they're like, well, we should start shooting. We don't know what this is. And so they start shooting, and we actually get, I thought it was very clever. It's a whole scene behind this building that they are shooting where a body has been discovered. There's a bloody sheet over it. There's police and like barricades. And what pulls up? Baby. And Sam and Dean get out, and apparently someone got murdered, and they're I think it's Brian that makes the joke about Starsky and Hutch, and I'm like, these kids are too young to know what the fuck that is. But whatever.
Well, the other one made the joke about Rizzoli and Isles. You also said someone got murdered, which is twice as now that song getting stuck in my head. I do think it was a missed opportunity when Sam and Dean rolled up. That could have been Bad Boys playing. I think that would have been much nicer, yeah. But that's just me. But
yeah, I agree.
Yep. So they kind of run through this crap. So the victim was attacked. They heard a growl. Then we go to the apartment where they continue to feel... These people are fucking annoying. I think also... Fuck you! Like, could you imagine, like, being, like, their neighbor? Oh my god, like, put down the fucking camera and take the trash out. Like, these are just, like,
This place is so dirty, too. I'm sorry. It's not, like, cluttered. Their house is
dirty. You're dirty college...
Dirty.
Fucking filthy college student. So, put down your camera and take out the pizza box.
Wait till we get to the kitchen scene. Anyways. It's distressing. Anyways, so they're whatever. The only thing the thing I would want to note that they had before, I missed my spot. So Michael and Brian go out to shoot more scenes for his future movie, and they accidentally stumble across Sam and Dean discussing if there's even a case in this town. Just kind of interesting, but you hear like the guys make a joke about if there's a workplace romance vibe between Sam and Dean.
Yes, and that becomes a running joke in this episode, and I do appreciate the slash fiction poking.
I know you do. That's right. Yeah.
See, Diana's finally getting on board with the slash fiction. We'll get it there.
No.
All right, so these like creepy ass fucking kids are like filming people making out by the bleachers, and during that, like, I know I'm skipping stuff. I just don't care.
No.
So like they're being gross and filming people like out by the bleachers, and there's a dude who gets super aggressive on a girl, and then like then we get a chase scene.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she defends herself, and then he's mad that he got filmed, so he starts chasing them. So they get separated, and Michael goes one way, and Brian goes the other, and then we get something sneaking up behind Michael, but it's Scott, douchebag Scott, chasing them. But like that, we get a scene where he drops his camera. There's rustling and grumbling, and then the camera gets lifted away. The camera tilts, and then he gets like lifted away yelling, and we get like a spurt of liquid across the screen. I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah. But they also luckily have night vision and all those films.
Oh yeah.
So that's good for them. Like they've got some really nice cameras there. Which was how this whole thing started. Was just her wanting to fuck someone for their camera. Well, so okay, I don't even know where we're at. So
Brian finds him in the finds him in the woods and is shocked he's alive. I am too, because this is supernatural. And he's got some bloody ass bite on his shoulder. So they go back to the house. And they're like, oh my God, something bit Michael. There's blood. And he's real sweaty too. And then the bite's like gone, like healed up already.
Yeah. And
so
so then like we go through that, and then we go to the doctor, right? So they're like, okay, I guess we're gonna go to a doctor for this. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And the doctor says that Michael is gonna be fine, but Kate is just like, I don't know what I would do if anything happened to them. And I'm like, you met him Tuesday.
Right. But we also, during this, we see a lot of Kate and Brian sitting very closely and talking very closely and making plans for things while Michael's asleep.
I hate them as a couple. I just hate them as human beings.
Which one?
All of them. All of them are just not okay. Like, this is just a toxic house. This is a toxic college house.
It is. Well, now we discover accidentally that Michael's got super strength.
He's super strong. So, maybe he got bit by an alien.
There we go.
Maybe he's a mutant.
Yeah, that's why the FBI is looking for him or something.
Because of the X-Files.
Yeah.
So now Brian decides that he's just going to mount cameras into their house and make this, which is less annoying? But I would say less annoying than the hand cameras, but they don't stop at the hand cameras either, right? So I'd be like, if I was his roommate, I'd be like, fine, we can mount them, but you're going to stop following me around with the shit in my face.
No, they're all doing it to each other. They like it. It's bizarre. But whatever. Are they like voyeurs and exhibitionists simultaneously? I don't know.
They're assholes is what there are. So this is going to be Michael's origin story, and that is going to be the movie. The movie is, my name is Michael, and I am an X, but I don't know what I am yet.
Superhero. Yeah. Well, we cut to a scene in a very, very, very dirty kitchen. And I'm not just saying it's dated and like worn out, which it is, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But it's dingy. Like, you could like take a bleached rag and wipe off that fucking door. I'm just saying. Anyways, but we get the scene where now Brian is begging Michael to buy him or to take him out to the woods so he can get bitten, or to bite him because he wants to be like Michael, strong and light, not like Piggy.
He doesn't want to be Piggy anymore.
So now it's sad.
You're pathetic, but Brian. You fucking incel. Like, it's just, you're just sad, Brian. Like, I have no sympathy for you as a kid. I think it also, like, the Piggy character. Like, I just don't give a shit. Stop being Piggy. You don't want to be Piggy? Stop being a fucking Piggy. Anyways. So he whines about that, and we cut to Kate and Michael on the couch. And Piggy is, then I just started calling him Piggy because I was mad at him. Because he didn't want to be Piggy.
Well, Sam and Dean.
I know. I was like, you didn't want to be Piggy? So I'm going to call you Piggy from now on.
Oh, when they do have to frantically hide their bong, which is kind of funny, but
Yeah,
anyway, very college cliche though.
I remember like there was some actual true crime where there was a murder suspect, and the cop was like, "Why did you hide your weed before you called 911?" Or before you call the cops, or like let us in, something like that. And he was like, "I don't know, I just did it." And I feel like that's just a habit, right? Like before, like there's the cops, you hide the bong. So, anyways,
well. Either way, they are asking Brian questions about the murder and if they knew a victim. And then Sam just asks if he knows about anyone in the neighborhood getting bit. Okay.
Anybody just going around, bit. And
Bite.
I also have it. This is where I very much call out that Sam wants to be humored, be taken seriously, but how can you when your hair looks so dumb? Your hair, this is, and I sent Diana the picture exactly where I found Sam's hair look the stupidest in this episode. So that is in your email waiting for you.
Yeah, I saw it in my inbox. I haven't looked at it yet. I saw it was there. I was waiting for me. So anyway, so they leave, but while Sam and Dean are on the patio, they're discussing the case. And Sam references like, "Oh, it can't be another mind god," or something like that. But he references mind god, and fucking Kate catches this on film. So now Michael thinks he's a fucking god.
Sure.
So now it's the middle of the night, and Michael's gonna go take a piss, like you do. And he looks in the mirror, tells himself that he's a god while he's filming himself in the bathroom mirror. And then his pupils go all crazy big, and he grows fangs. And then there's a lot of snapping and crackling, and now he's got claws. And he smashes the mirror and goes and caresses Kate's face with his creepy claws. And then he gets dressed and eats all the leftovers in the kitchen, but that's way more food than they would have had. So I don't even know.
He gets a snack attack because, punching the mirror makes you hungry. But he also, with that whole mirror scene, like he was like filming himself, and then somehow he was zooming the focus in on his own eye, but then he was filming in I want this broken down. I may need to go back and break this down again. I wonder if there's a director's cut of this on the DVD. I don't think there is. This is something.
You have to watch it again.
I don't want to. I would just watch this part again. But there is. This is the season where they stopped having the supernatural companion, and I really miss it. I know this information exists out there, but nobody collated it for me, and I don't have time to look for it myself. And so, if you know why or how this film was this scene was filmed, let me know. Slide into my DMs. Anyways, so he's caressed his girlfriend. He has eaten all the food because he got the munchies, and
now he's gonna go buy more food.
His nails, like that was just like you could see the tape, right? Like you could see the tape on the bottom of that nail, right?
I missed it.
Yeah. Anyways, so they really bothered me, and then we cut to Scotty P and the Oak Hill crew.
Yeah, they're going to go find whatever monsters, whatever is biting people in the woods. So
No. They are patrolling the streets for all the fine honeys.
They are. For all the fine honeys.
You got to thank God the Oak Hill crew is out there protecting all those fine... Fuck you, Oak Hill crew. Anyway, so then we have Redding... panting, take your beating like a man.
Yeah, well, because Michael walks by, he drops his food, he gets chased by Scotty because Scotty's still mad, and then and
I think Scotty threatens to rape Kate. Like it's just all very toxic masculinity,
it's all bad.
Grossness, and then like they run around, then Michael attacks him.
Yeah. So back on the next day, now it's daytime. And apparently Kate and Brian are not concerned that Michael's not home at all. So, but they're discussing if Kate is afraid of him. And now she's like, at first I was, but now it's pretty hot. But then we cut to him standing there covered in blood.
He's got fruit punch mouth. And is it still hot, Kate? You still want to make out with him?
Well, she's screaming, so I'm going to bet no. And so in the shower, she's very upfront. He's like, yeah, I saw Scott. He chased me and I killed him. And she's like, this is where like it gets most annoying. Like it's kind of okay up until about now, and then it gets this is where I feel like it gets extra annoying. Whereas there's this whole like divide where now like, well, now they know something's like potentially bad with Michael, and Kate in her protectiveness wants to stop filming everything. Brian wants to film more because it's more interesting, and
he's
he has
a
his own reason.
psychopath.
He thinks that, well, that there's a variety of reasons, I think. But anyway, so she starts telling Brian to turn the camera off, and he's like, nah, nope.
And she's just like, he's confessing to murder. I think we should maybe not have this on camera.
Correct. Yes, she would be correct.
Saying, yeah.
So they go back to the crime scene with their cameras, and Sam and Dean are there, and yes, Scott's dead, shredded by an animal with his heart ripped out, and his heart's mostly eaten, found down the road.
And Dean wants to see the heart.
Yeah, he does. Ugh. So back at the house, Brian asks Michael if he ate the heart. And Michael's like, well, I don't know, I don't remember. Oh. And Kate's like trying to build up some story about self-defense. I think that's interesting of her. But anyways, we just get like Brian watching like her like and Michael like cuddling and crying. It's a lot. So, and Brian's like, I want to call the police. And Kate's like, no, you've never been in love.
Well, Michael's also thrown Brian across the room, and right across like
not
yeah,
yet.
He did because like so that's at least how my notes.
Oh yeah, he did.
Orders.
You're right. No, he did.
So Michael had thrown Brian across the room, and then he cried because then I went, ha ha, there's a Coven poster, because there was a Coven poster on the wall, and every time there's a reference to that movie, that's a meta fucking nerd joke. All right, so then Brian wants to call the police. Then Kate starts going, you've never been in love, but Kate, he loves you.
He's in love with you.
But he only says it with his eyes. He says it with his eyes, Kate, and you can't see.
Because he's a bitch.
He is.
He's a bitch.
He is a little bitch. So, so we go from there to the police station.
Well, because Kate's going to try to spy on the coroner now?
I think she decided I think they're after Sam and Dean. I think that's like, they're just like, we're going to go after these FBI guys. I think that's their...
Well, they are able to eavesdrop where Dean is talking to the coroner about this creature. And
what kind of camera do you have, girl? Like, that's a feature I don't know about. And I would be very interested in learning.
Well, the coroner's talking about the curvature of the claws, and there's no animals bigger than raccoons here, which is weird.
Well, because also raccoon are one of the only other animals that we can, with their fingers, can go doop, 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 doop with their forehead. So, like, I don't think their claws would do that to you.
Murder raccoons.
Also, the name of my next band.
Yeah. Hey, you never know. I mean, we never see what bit him, and we never see him fully wolf out. That could have been like
this is true.
A raccoon.
I think
this could all be a raccoon shifter.
This is what we're changing. I'm changing every time it says werewolf. We're going to change it to raccoon. Okay, so Dean decides that it's not the time of the month, so it can't be a raccoon, and it's time to hit the books.
But Sam's already found a similar murder from 10 years ago, so now they know that there's something else. All right. So, and also we find out that Brian is tracking both Kate and Michael by putting GPS trackers on their phone without their permission.
Find a friend. But then Kate's just like, so what else can you hack?
Yeah. So now they're going to hack into the restaurant security footage. And so, because that's where Sam and Dean are having lunch, and there we go. So Michael's going to put on a hat so he can look secretive and go take the spy bag inside so they can get the audio and better video. While Sam and Dean, Dean's eating a bunch of burgers, and I like his clear eyes and clogged arteries.
I think that is a good motto.
Yeah. And so they're going to start talking about werewolves.
Raccoons. So Dean has learned that raccoons that are turned up to 4 generations from pure blood. And then so he's just like, oh, alpha. So we found this, like, I guess this is in John's journal. And so I have this right from a transcript. And so in the transcript, it says that Sam gestures non-committally. And Dean continues with, are less feral and can transform before, during, and after the lunar cycle. Then he says, boom. So at this point, I believe that they're just making up lore in order to make a storyline.
Sure.
Because there's no such thing as an alpha anywhere in werewolf lore. I mean, there are alpha packs. We've talked about that before. That is
that's been part of the supernatural lore, is that there's alphas for all the things. But
there is, right? But that is it is part of the supernatural SPN mythology that there are alpha vampires. Right. And there are alpha wolves in human mythology because it's not something that actually exists within the animal world, as far as I understand it. But I am not a wolf person. A what would you be? A lycanologist? What would you? I don't know.
Sounds right.
Sure. That's what right. Those people are. People who study wolves.
Lycanologist.
And someone out there is shitting themselves right now. I'm so sorry to whoever spent a lot.
No, you're welcome.
Like, you spent all those years on your many degrees, I'm sure, and like. Well, so I don't know. Let's just talk about our lore anyway. So within the TV supernatural, the Raccoon / werewolves are theoretically coming. Okay, so they're 4 generations from an alpha. They're less feral, and they can transform before and after, whenever they want. Right, so they don't have to have a full moon. They don't need to be on their cycle. They can just do it whenever, right? And they can just do the wolves. They can do it. They can wolf out whenever they want. And so these are like the fancier werewolves, and they don't need to set something else up. They're like they don't have to eat the hearts, right? These can eat chicken hearts. I wonder if they could eat like impossible hearts. Could they make like an impossible like a beef heart? Would that be okay for them? So this weekend we did hear about another werewolf, and that's what we're going to talk about today. And we're going to talk about the Converse Werewolf because I wanted to know more. We learned this is, as Diana said, we saw Lyle Blackburn talk about a bunch of Texas cryptids and monsters. And remember, the difference is that a cryptid doesn't change and a monster does. Is that it? Is that the difference? No. But no, I got it wrong. One of them howls at the moon. One of them wears a tutu.
There we go.
Okay. So this is the legend of the Converse Werewolf, and the Converse Werewolf is actually from closer to Lavernia, but that doesn't really matter because unless you live here, you will never go to either of those places. I live 15 minutes to those places, and the only reason that I go to Converse is because there's an aerial gym there. So I will say that Lavernia is better because it does involve Skulls Crossing, and that just sounds really metal.
It does.
So I'm going to tell you the story of the Converse Werewolf, but as told and written by the Texas cryptid hunter Michael Mays, because I was too lazy to write a version myself, and his was pretty good. Honestly, all I would do was just take this version and then tell ChatGPT to change it up a little bit so that it wasn't plagiarist. So might as well just read someone else's.
Give him credit.
So.
Cite it and be done. Yeah.
Seriously, I can do my own lore research, but why? This was fine. That's just my motto for 2024. This was fine. So maybe I'll do a funny voice. Maybe I won't. We don't know. So. It is said that back in the mid-late 1800s, a rancher moved onto a plot of land near what is now Converse. The man was a rugged sort who had grown up in true pioneer fashion, probably means racist, Some versions of the tale suggest he was a military combat veteran who moved to the area in an effort to put the horrors of the Civil War behind him and live out his days quietly on the South Texas plains. This man had a son who was something of a disappointment to him, as many fathers have sons who are disappointments to them. The lad was frail, bookish, and preferred studying to wrangling and hunting. He just wanted to read those damn books. Hate them. This frustrated the old rancher to no end, and he decided to make a man out of the boy. To this end, the rancher decided to send his son out hunting. He hoped the boy would take a liking to the sport, and after making his first kill, would prefer the more manly activity of hunting to that of reading and studying all day. You know how much effort hunting takes? Like, it's a lot. Like, you gotta get up early, you gotta, like, shoot things, but then you gotta, like, cut them up and clean them, and, like, carry them around, and they're heavy. You don't have to do that shit if you're reading a book. Like, I don't have to get up at 4 a.m. to read. Like, anyhow.
No.
So...
You just might stay up till 4 a.m. reading.
I may, I will say that I did often take books while I go hunting. So he directed the boy to a heavily wooded area along a creek called Skull Crossing. And you can go to the Skull Crossing Ranch. They breed horses there, and you can buy one for $15,000. I know that because I looked that up today. Looked that up during Lyle's talk. So the boy was reluctant at first and resisted, but one way or the other was finally coerced into going. Probably with I will give you something to cry about if you don't go hunting. I know this old rancher well. The old rancher watched with high hopes, probably not, as his son walked away from the homestead towards the woods. The old man would soon be disappointed, however, as the son returned a few hours later empty-handed. When chastised for returning without any game, the boy told his father that he left the area out of fear as he had spotted and been stalked by a monster resembling a werewolf. The father immediately dismissed this wild story and cajoled his son into returning the area to finish his hunt. Probably once again with I will give you something to cry about.
Right.
Trembling and fearful, always a good thing to have with a firearm, the boy trudged back out to the ominously named area of Skull Crossing. Little did the old rancher know it would be the last time he would see his son alive. Hours passed, and darkness began to fall. The old man, the story goes, began to worry and have second thoughts about sending his inexperienced son out into the woods alone.
Oh, he's having second thoughts about that?
While he hoped the reason the boy had not returned was because he had yet to make a kill, he began to have a sinking feeling deep in his gut that something was wrong. Deciding not to wait any longer, the rancher rounded up some neighbors and they made their way toward the wooded area near Skull Crossing in search of the boy. What they found upon arriving there is the stuff of nightmares. These are not my nightmares. My nightmares generally involve tests and classes I haven't finished. So, the search party happened upon a monstrous hirsute, Hirsute. Is that a word? I don't know. I'm sure that's a word that means something. We'll look it up one day. This creature hunched over the body of the rancher's son. The beast was in the act of ravenously devouring the boy when discovered. The man got off a few shots at the monster, but it bounded away at lightning speed. The werewolf, as it was dubbed, maybe Raccoon, was described as standing between 8 to 9 feet tall and covered in dark hair or fur. That is a basketball playing Raccoon. That is a very tall thing. Members of the search party described it as being some kind of unholy combination between a wolf and a man. The old rancher was understandably devastated by the death of his boy. He blamed himself for not believing his son's story and believed he sent his son to his doom by forcing him to return to Skull Crossing to complete his hunt, because he did. And then he goes on to say, the versions of the tale I've heard say the rancher died shortly after. Some versions he became reclusive, refused to eat, and wasted away. Others say he committed suicide by setting fire to their home and burning up. Another way, not good. So
no.
I think there's some stories, some morals to the story. Yeah. Sometimes your son just wants to read a book, and you should leave him the fuck alone.
Well, but if the family needed food and it was time to go,
he didn't say they needed food. You can contribute. You can contribute to your household in many ways, Diana. Perhaps he reads that
1800s. He should probably know how to kill food.
He can read a book, make money from reading that book, and then pay someone else to kill his food. Not everybody killed their own food. And he would have been fine. Let him read his book. Leave him the fuck alone, Diana. Otherwise, he's gonna get eaten by a werewolf. You let him read the fucking book. You're so bad. You're just like sending him out to his death because you want some fucking turkey or whatever.
I wouldn't have sent him to Skull Crossing.
Skull Crossing. You know what's out there? He was there to eat. There's some deer, right? I'm sure there's probably a lot of deer and a bobcat and a were-raccoon apparently, and it's gonna eat you.
Apparently. Well, apparently there's a raccoon or a werewolf kicking it in some All-Stars, because that's all I can think of every time I hear about Converse Werewolf. Is I'm like, oh, this werewolf has some killer fucking shoes, and he hangs out at Skull Crossing. He's metal AF.
I know. I like this metal.
Because that's not only is he hanging out at Skull Crossing.
Yep.
He's also like, as we all know, if they're not in Vans, or steel-toed boots, they're in Converse.
Fair. Or Adidas.
All the metal things.
Depending on where in the subculture you're playing, you could be in Adidas. So
that's true.
I do believe in Lyle's version that they did explicitly see a transformation, or heard like there was an actual like the bones like cracking and stuff. So things that
as it stood up.
Yeah.
That might have been one of the other sightings, but there was one for sure where they heard the creature like moving and heard things cracking as it stood up. But
So, but that is I did not know there was that legend really has been around these here parts for many a moon, but I had never heard of that.
Yeah, there's quite a few. I mean, I'm sure wherever you're at, wherever you live, there probably are some. But I feel like not just because I'm biased. I feel like we probably have a lot more here just because of how spread out the land is, and how much different type of terrain we have.
Because Texas is going to you feel like you.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was. I mean,
this
that's
is
what
the Lone Star State.
Like,
I don't know. We have
cryptids. What? There we go. But yeah,
sorry.
It's a good story. We're tired and stressed this week. Can you tell? Okay.
All right. So we're going to go back to, and we're going back to fucking fuck.
Yeah, Sam and Dean
have figured out that a were-raccoon has come to town.
And they make a lot of dog jokes and pedigree jokes, and we even get a best in show joke, and I was deeply amused. And then they're like, well, gotta find it and kill it. There we go.
So Michael, back at the house, Michael is upset that he's a wolf.
He is. But Kate's convinced that Sam and Dean are not the FBI because Dean says awesome too much, and FBI doesn't hunt and kill college kids.
The second one, yes, definitely, probably a good idea that you're not FBI. Feds probably say awesome more than they should. So Brian thinks that them being apart for the year also means that he was right about the office romance. So they think they're right about their Mulder and Scully vibes.
Yeah. I guess. So, all right. So, we get a little argument again with Michael and Kate are mad at each other because they just don't know what's going on. So they're going to go fight while Brian looks through footage of the woods, and then they don't want to talk to him and see what he found. So he just decides to go to the woods alone, where he found a pin on the ground. And now he's hiding a camera in an office at the campus, and he's confronting his professor, saying, "I know what you are." And we get a weird cut just to see Kate crying, and then we go back to Brian arriving at the house, seeing Kate packing because her and Michael are leaving in the morning to protect him. And Brian's like, "But I took care of it." And he's got his footage from the professor's office. And basically, Brian recognized that as his professor's pin. Professor's playing dumb, but Brian's figured out that this professor is a werewolf. And so he pulls a knife on him, basically says, "I want to get bitten." And finally, they're discussing eating hearts, and it's like talking about how like, "Oh, eating a human heart opens the monster inside you, blah." And then he hadn't had a human heart and whatever until last week, and he just got too tempted, and that's why he killed that guy. And now the hunters are here, so I bit Michael to make him my patsy. Because fuck that guy who sleeps through my class.
Well, and he's also thought which I think one is, yes, this is what you should happen to you if you're sleeping through somebody's lecture. Fuck you, pay attention. Also, you paid for this class or someone paid for it. But hot dudes don't have to take notes. So we again get this Brian's being sick of being Piggy and he wants to be Ralph, blah, blah, blah. And he took care of things and his arm has a bite mark. What? I don't understand where the bite mark came from.
Oh, that was when he was that weird scene when they kind of cut to and he's climbing on the professor and holding a knife on him. He made the professor bite his arm. Okay,
I guess like he should. It's Brian, you're a bitch.
But it's healed. But I like that the professor says, "You don't get to choose who you are." And Brian's like, "I did."
Brian.
And he decides to show off his claws to Kim and Michael, and he's got all this footage of the professor freaking out after he leaves. They're watching the professor freak out and smash up his office. And Sam and Dean show up at the office because Brian called and tipped them off, because remember he had their card from earlier. So anyways, they shoot him, and then Sam and Dean notice the camera. So, here we go. Now we're going to get a monologue from
Brian saying that he did this for Kate because he did what Michael couldn't. And he's not hiding behind the cameras. He was never hiding behind the cameras. He was always hiding behind Michael. But now they're equals. You fucking loser piece of crap. That is not how life works, you fucking incel. So I can't stand Brian. I can't. I just want to take him and I just want to smack his whiny little head against a wall and be like, "She doesn't like you, Brian."
Honestly,
get all three. I hate all of them.
Well, I think it's also just it reminds you just college kids are dumb. But
that's true. Their prefrontal lobes are just little smushy little walnuts and probably made worse from being behind the camera. I don't have sympathy for any of them, and I want them all to die.
No, I don't have sympathy. No sympathy. So Michael's finally by the way, I do remember killing Scott and eating his heart. And,
it was sweet and delicious. Yeah. I do like it was just the Michael line is delivered pretty great. It's just it sounds really sad, and then all of a sudden it just turns. He's and it was sweet and delicious. I was like, what?
Yeah. So, anyways, now we're gonna get a real weird scene. Brian's grabbing Kate, calling, whatever, and then they're gonna all wolf out. We're going to have Brian and Michael have to fight while Kate's screaming, and Michael's winning, so Brian fucking stabs and kills him. What the actual fuck? Well, Kate can't have that. So she pulls the knife out of Michael, goes after Brian, is slashing at him while he's professing his love because he wants to bite her so she'll understand. And he grabs her and he bites her, and she's crying in the bathroom. And he's like, oh, yeah, Brian's like crying, I'm gonna fix this. So she destroys the bathroom first, like you do. Then she gets a camera, and then she says, I'm coming out. I understand now. And he's smiling, waiting on her. And she gives him the camera, and then she fucking destroys him. It's her shredding Brian is what was all over that fucking living room. That was the blood spot.
That was what was painted. Brian was what was not mad that Brian is painted all over these walls, probably. Oh God.
It's a lot. But then they also didn't do the she didn't touch Michael's body, which is interesting. So we get her monologue and I didn't finish this movie to justify anything. I don't know, I don't understand, but he wasn't always none of us were always monsters. And we get a montage, and she's like, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna eat animal hearts. Please believe me and don't chase me.
Yeah, and this is where they do the throwback to the beginning of her wanting to be a green lawyer, and then what they all wanted to be growing up, but then they never got their chance. And then we finally leave this fucking found footage perspective and go back to normal camera world.
And Sam and Dean are like, okay, well, that explains who the splatter is and who this body is. Good to know. Kate's got a half a day jump on us, though, so what do we want to do? And they agree that because she has not yet hurt a human, to let her go, which is actually a pretty big shift from these two. Well, from Dean, at least.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. But he's like, let's give her a shot. She didn't choose this. And then he's really concerned that he says awesome too much. Dean and Sam lies to him about it.
Yeah, and I think there is an underlying thing to think about. I'm just trying not to spoiler, to think about why Dean is now okay with letting Kate go and giving her a shot.
Well, I mean, we do know that he, befriended
he's fucking a vampire.
Yeah. He befriended a vampire, so maybe that's
he really has to
change his mind about monsters a little bit.
Yeah, so I don't know. So maybe that's why. But
well, our episode ends with Kate walking down some railroad tracks in the sunset. It's stupid. So,
all right, casting couch.
Casting couch. It's the casting couch. Were they on that show that time with that guy? La 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 la.
Yeah, let's talk about the cast in this.
Who were all fantastic actors. Y'all were great.
They were. It wasn't a knock on that. It was it's the style of storytelling that was not my jam.
It was well done. Whatever, go on. So
it was. And honestly, this one, I was pretty impressed. Brian was played by Lee Parker. He's fucking Australian. I would never have known.
Crikey.
Good accent. Yeah. He has not been in a ton of things, though. Pretty limited credits. He had a role in All Cheerleaders Die, in a movie called Wild, and a Netflix film called The Opera House. Kate was played by Britt Sheridan, who's born in Fort Worth, Texas. Yeah. And she doesn't have an extensive credit either, but I did see that we will be seeing her again, which is interesting. But she's been in episodes of shows like 90210 and Stitchers. Michael was played by Brandon W. Jones. He's been in a lot of shows, things like 90210, Law and Order LA, CSI New York, Two Broke Girls, Big Bang Theory, Empire. He had reoccurring roles in Lie to Me, CSI, and Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and was a regular character in Pretty Little Liars as Andrew. Interestingly, guy that only got a couple scenes is our Professor Ludensky. Was played by David James Lewis. Had a pretty extensive amount of credits, actually. He's been in a ton of stuff, a lot of indie things, and a lot of Hallmark. So, that bulks up that credits list for sure. His first credit goes back to the 80s, though. It was a 1983 movie called Copper Mountain, starring Jim Carrey and Alan Thicke. How about that? So, I thought that was pretty funny.
This is a very weird version of Deliverance.
But he's been in episodes. He was in X-Files multiple times, Outer Limits multiple times. He's been in shows like Dead Like Me, Criminal Minds, L Word repeatedly, Smallville a couple times, Fringe, Travelers. He was in a couple episodes of Magicians and of Nancy Drew. He was Bob in the movie Halloween Resurrection, Ted in Deck the Halls, Daniel in The Girlfriend Experience. He plays Denzel Crocker in all of the Fairly Odd Parents live action shows. Major Larimore in Man of Steel, and Mitchell in The Girlfriend's Guides to Divorce.
That's a lot.
So, yeah, and that's just shortening it. So I think my comment would be similar to what we were just saying a second ago. It wasn't the premise of the episode that was annoying.
Technically, it was all done well. It was
all done.
It was all done beautifully.
We just don't seem to like this premise.
It was shot beautifully.
Yeah.
It was, y'all did this whole idea of a found footage within a TV show wonderfully. It just annoys the shit out of me, and I fucking hate these kids.
Yeah, it was a little bit rough. The super like, I'm so in love, I'm gonna die.
You have
I'm
a
so
creepy,
dumb about this. Like,
an insecure stalker boyfriend who doesn't understand how to talk to women and who basically just assaults and attacks this girl who falls in love too quickly with has a very, what seems like, what's the Sam and Dean word? What are they together? Codependent, yeah. So it seems like she has developed this very quickly developed a
quick codependence.
Yeah, and just Michael just seems like an idiot, right? He just seems like a fucking moron. So there was nothing about him that gave us substance. Maybe there was something somewhere, but we were not shown it.
We didn't get to
we
see
did
that
not.
part.
So I'm just like, yeah. So you ate your rival Scott from the Oak Hill gang,
But also I think the problem, here's my issue, that was acted well. I think they went too hard on the cliches. I think that was part of the problem. I think they went too hard. Scott's a fucking super douche, but he's not going to be he's not going to be the leader of a small on the bleachers
gang
one day and then the next day be talking about the honeys and threatening Kate. That's just, I felt like that was a little brazen and unrealistic.
I don't even know, Disney movie.
It's caricature.
But it's very much
version.
I'm such a terrible person that I'm going to date rape. But there's just a lot of date rape in this thing. It's just weird.
It's just weird. I just felt like the college characters were so caricatured.
This is how
you also called. I couldn't figure out what bothered me about Kate, and you called it out right before we started recording.
She's
What did you
she's
say
very
about her?
stylistically similar to original Meg.
Correct, and I see that too, and I think I couldn't place it, and that's what it was.
It was also, as we know, a whiny bitch. So automatically, I put that onto her, but shockingly, my personality doesn't tend to like super clingy women.
What?
I only seem to be obsessed with their boyfriends because she wants to be a lawyer, not a filmmaker. So why the fuck do you have this goddamn camera, Kate?
There's a lot. Here's the deal. I think that was creative, and like you said, it was well done. I don't want it to sound like we're just shitting on everything, so I want to be clear. It was an enjoyable episode in a lot of ways, but I just felt like they over-exaggerated this stupid college kid thing. But anyway, I did like I really enjoyed how they dovetailed in their interaction with Sam and Dean. I thought that was super fucking cool. I did, even though it was the found footage.
Well, and I think part of it also is just anytime that the focus is taken away from Sam and Dean, it automatically makes you uncomfortable.
Right, 'cause you
It's
don't know
their
these people.
show. I
This
want to
isn't the
watch
story.
their show, not a show about other people. At the same time, I understand. Again, well done. Love that.
Blah blah blah. Thanks.
It
All
was
that's all
fine.
got.
I hope I never have to watch this fucking episode again.
Well, you shouldn't.
Please don't let me watch this episode. I'm dead now. All right, cheers, Rick.
Cheers, bitch.
Devil's Trap Podcast is a Don't Get It production. Meow.
Devil's Trap Podcast is part of the Ship It Studios Podcast Network. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Devil's Trap Podcast, Twitter at Devil's Trap Pod, or you can email us at devilstrap@devilstrappodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave reviews, and share with all your friends. We're at all your favorite podcast outlets and at devilstrappodcast.com. I'm Babe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.